hope that you have your coffee because today I'm interviewing Heather Harrington, the host of the Hot Mess Espresso podcast. And me being Espresso Podcast Production, of course we had to collab, like we had no other choice, right? So in this episode, I'm speaking with Heather about how she gets vulnerable about her podcast and her life, and really how she created something that she wished existed. She created a resource that she knows other people needed because she needed it. So instead of waiting for someone else to do it, she brought it out into the world. Heather is an incredible person. She has the most fun TikToks. She has great podcast episodes. She gets vulnerable. She gets deep. She does all these amazing things that I think a lot of podcasters can learn from. So grab your coffee, your espresso ideally, and let's get into this episode with Heather. Welcome to the Podcast Café, where we're serving up everything you need to know about podcasting, from tips, stories, and strategies for podcasters from podcasters. I'm your host, Haley Hayhurst, the founder of Espresso Podcast Production, a full-service podcast agency helping business owners, creatives, and thought leaders launch and grow their shows. Whether you're just starting out or want to take your podcast to the next level, this is the place for you. Each week, we'll dive into practical tips, actionable strategies, and of course, stories from other podcasters so that you can build up a podcast that you love and that works for your business. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's get started. Welcome to the Podcast Cafe. Hey, Heather, thank you so much for joining me in the Podcast Cafe. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Well, we're talking all about your podcast, and we have so much similarities since my business is Espresso Podcast Production, and your podcast is Hot Mess Espresso. So we are going to really get into this today. And so my first question that I ask all of my guests, which I think you're going to love, is what is your go-to coffee order?
Oh God, it's all over the place, but I think my fail-safe is an iced caramel coffee.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
caramel, I'm sorry, it's caramel. I like But yeah, no, that or if I want to get fancy, I'll get fancy, but for the most part, it's an iced caramel coffee. Like you cannot go
Totally.
wrong with that.
No, I agree. That is like a good classic. So how
Yes.
did the name Hot Mess Espresso come to be?
So it's actually this wasn't something that I came up with overnight. This has kind of been my like personal brand for the last 10 years or so. I'm a chaotic gremlin. I am just an absolute hot mess. And obviously everyone knows the term hot mess express, but I was like on this weird kick of Americanos. I still am. I haven't had an Americano in like forever, so I think I'm going to go get one tomorrow. But I just had this thing for Americanos, and Americanos is literally just espresso and water.
Hmm.
So I was an espresso girly, and I love a good pun and I love a good play on words. So I was like, ooh, instead of Hot Mess Express, Hot Mess Espresso.
I love it.
And then my Instagram handle was completely mispronounced for the next 10 years. So here we are. It hasn't gotten any better. I don't know if people mispronounce the crap out of your podcast and what you do, but yeah, it's
How did
great.
they
But
pronounce it?
espresso.
Okay. Yeah.
And it low key makes me twitch. But it was a thing. It was always my Instagram handle for a while. And then when I decided to start the podcast, I was like, I can't think of anything. Like maybe we'll go off of my old blog, Diaries of a Borderline. And everyone was like, no. They're like, you should do Hot Mess Espresso. And I'm like, I literally cannot, like, I just don't want to deal with people saying Hot Mess Espresso for
Yeah.
like the remainder of my life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want, I can't. But my one buddy, Dan, literally texted me like first thing in the morning one time and was like, I had a dream about your logo, and it's a coffee cup, and Hot Mess Espresso is in the like the steam for the latte art. And I went, well, it's gonna be Hot Mess Espresso.
Yeah. You're like,
It's
that's
gotta
actually a
be.
good idea.
So
I
like
love that.
it has come to someone in a dream. I cannot question the
Yeah,
universe. This is what we're
exactly.
doing.
Exactly. Exactly. No, I love that. I'm obviously a big fan of the name, and yes, people call it espresso all the time, but it is what it is.
Right. You suck it up and move on.
Exactly. Well, I'm excited to hear about your podcast, and it's really had some shifts since you've started it. It used to be a podcast
Yeah.
about borderline personality disorder and humanizing it, and you still do talk about that, but you've opened it up to new topics as well. So why don't you
Yep.
tell us about your podcast and who it's for and what you talk about?
I mean, if you've ever dealt with mental health, or if you love anybody that's dealt with mental health, this podcast is absolutely for you. It's kind of I've niched it down, but it's also really for like everyone. But Hot Mess Espresso, like you said, started off humanizing borderline because I had been diagnosed I started getting help when I was 25. And because of how long the process to get diagnosed is, I think I was like 26 when I like saw the official diagnosis on my chart. It's not like my therapist turned around and was like, "Well, guess what? You have." They just never brought it up.
Yeah.
I just happened to see it on like my list of things on my chart, so I was like, "Oh, so we are that is what I have." And if anybody's been through the diagnosis process of borderline, you know why it's so long. It's quite a few months because they have to either identify comorbidities or eliminate other mental illnesses. So,
Hmm.
long story short, I had started a blog, then I started this podcast, and I was like, I want to humanize it, blah, blah, blah. I started talking about it, but then I realized I needed to have other people on and I needed to pivot. So I started talking to other people. I got very, very excited when I got people on that were not only willing to talk about mental health, but were also, I guess, quote unquote, fellow borderlines. So we could kind of talk about different things, because my big thing was people would be like, you're really well adjusted for a borderliner. I would have never expected that. And it's like, that's great because I've done the work, but there are other people that aren't this far in their mental health journey. So I wanted other people on because I didn't want to be the poster child of,
Mm.
well, she's got borderline and she seems normal. And it's like, I used to very much not be, but like, I'm not going into it with people at random. So I've kind of made some pivots. And on top of that, I've done so much work on myself that I'm no longer technically classified as borderline because I no longer fit 5 out of the 9 criteria,
Mm.
which is great. But also, when you're revisiting that part of your life over and over and over again and constantly talking about it, it can actually make you regress a little bit because you're just sitting back in that mindset.
Mm.
So I have pivoted for not only the sake of podcasts need to be able to pivot on a moment's notice, but also for my own mental sanity.
That makes sense. That makes sense. How far into your journey of being diagnosed did you decide to start? Sounds like the blog came first. So,
Hmm.
was it like what was the reasoning behind starting the blog?
The same reason that I did the podcast. I just wanted to take people along
Yeah.
and hope that someone else read it. And I was talking about every week that I was in therapy or when I was in DBT, any like new things that were coming up that were reflecting back on a characteristic. Like it was a way for me to better understand where my head was at. Although once you get that diagnosis, all of a sudden you're kind of like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like everything just kind of clicks.
Yeah.
But it was really for me, I started that blog in, I believe, 2018. And I think my last blog post was March of 2020. So there was about a 14-month hiatus between blog and pod. But yeah, the blog was basically the same thing. The blog was definitely more in depth. When
Mm.
I started the podcast, I actually went back and referred back to a lot of blog posts until all of a sudden I couldn't find the website anymore. Yeah, that was great. I was like, fantastic. There goes all my research.
Yeah.
But because you black out a lot of it. But I was actually referring back to the blog because the blog was when I was in the thick of it.
Got it.
So, and that was really when I was unpacking a lot. So the blog was really, I guess, more important. But then the pod, I was just kind of getting with the times. My best friend was literally up my ass forever about it, especially like the second 2020 hit and podcasting really started taking off. He was like, you got to do it, you got to do it, you got to do it, you got to do it. So I finally cracked. No, I'm kidding. 2022, there was a 3 year gap. Why did I think it was 2020? There was a 3 year gap
Okay,
between blog and 3 year and 2 month gap. So,
got it.
yeah, he was on my ass for 3 months or 3 years. And I have no concept of time. And I finally cracked and
Yeah.
started HME. So, but HME is kind of a new chapter where I go over it. I want to humanize it, but I'm also not, I'm recognizing that I'm not quite there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And your podcast can change with you and
Yep.
what's going on in your life. So
Hmm.
I love that because I feel like people want to start podcasts to kind of take a time capsule of what they're going through or bring community with them or help other
Yep.
people. You never know what will help other people. So that's, I think, really great for everyone to hear of like, as you're going through it, you've been, talking about it, but
Yeah.
also consistently updating it as your life goes on. What advice do you have for anyone who wants to talk about? I mean, it's hard because I work in the business space, right? And so
Hmm.
I don't talk much about my personal life on my podcast or on Instagram or anything, but you're really putting it all out there.
Yeah, and some people wish I wasn't, but here we are.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to start talking about your life, just talk about it.
Hmm.
If there's something that you're on the fence about, sit on it for a little bit, kind of go through the emotions off camera. So when you're on camera, you're not completely spiraling and then looking back in a week and going, yikes. I've come very close to that a couple of times. But, it's hard because I used to be very like in depth on what I was going through, and then I kind of like stepped back and people caught it. They were like, you're very surface level, like we don't know who you are anymore. And I think me being so like, you know, out there has helped people feel seen and feel like, the inner voices that they have, I'm literally saying them out loud on a mic, which can be a bit much for some people, but for others, they're like, that's exactly what I needed because you're saying the inner thoughts out loud. And usually we're not supposed to do that, but I've never gone with the grain, literally ever. So, it's just, you, you just gotta, you just gotta go for it.
Hmm.
It's terrifying. I love and hate that 99% of my life is out there. Like my I dragged my husband on my podcast. Well, now it's ex-husband, but I dragged my ex-husband on the podcast. And we did 3 episodes where we were talking about the inner workings of being married to somebody with borderline and the inner workings of our marriage. And we got pretty deep.
Mm.
And then from there, I separated and for 3 months was acting like everything's fine. And then publicly, May of last year, I was like, oh, by the way, I'm getting a divorce.
Yeah.
And had to talk about that. And there were some things that I didn't want to talk about because I didn't want to throw him under the bus for a lot of things because I was also at fault. And, I was working through when you get a divorce, you're working through a lot of things. So I was working through a lot. So I tried to keep it as surface level as possible so that I wouldn't look back and go, I shouldn't have said that about him.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty proud that I didn't like go for the jugular. There were several times that I really, really wanted to, but I didn't because at the end of the day, I can sit there and look back and go, I took the high road.
Yeah.
But the details and these super inner workings are not anybody's business. You just have to decide what you want to be everyone else's business, and you also have to be okay with the fallout of making that everyone else's business
Hmm.
because that's a whole process too.
Yeah. Tell us about that. I'm curious. Like, what response do you get?
For the most part, I think people are kind of like, because divorce is still kind of a dirty word. I think it is, but it kind of is a dirty word where you're like, you just don't talk about it. Like, you get a divorce and you move on. And I know that there's some people out there that are pissy that I have talked about my divorce on my podcast and think that what I've said about my ex-husband is not nice and this, that, and the third. And I'm just over here like, I could have been meaner. Um, but also like it's my truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm so glad that other people don't see my marriage the way that I did. And I've also copped to the shit I did because I was not nice in the end. I
Mm-hmm.
really wasn't,
Yeah.
but you just, you have to deal with the fallout of people. And it took me a second to deal with that, but you have to deal with the fallout that people are going to look at that and think that you're just airing your dirty laundry out. And I'm like, well, it's my laundry to air out, so I don't care.
It is. And it's your
Um,
podcast. It's your platform. It's like a
exactly.
space for you to talk. And if they don't want to listen, they don't have to.
Yeah, like thank you for the listens. I really appreciate the listens and the downloads. Like, you
Yeah,
go. But at the same time, like if you've got a rebuttal, you get your ass on a mic and you yip yap. So,
for
that's
sure.
kind of my thing. But you do get some fallout and it's not pleasant. And you do kind of sit there and go, should I have said that? But at the same time, like I stand by every word I said.
Hmm.
Every word I've ever said on that pod, I stand by because I know I didn't. You
Yeah,
just you gotta put it out there.
you
And
do.
it's some people are more private than others. I have always been a ridiculously open book, much to the chagrin of my family. So, you know, it
Totally.
is what it is. We're
Yeah.
just a hot mess over here.
Hot Mess Espresso.
Pretty much. We're just trying to stay on brand over here, guys.
Right. You're like, I'm doing it for the brand. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just on brand. Like, I have
Yes.
to do it at this point.
It's consistency. It's key.
Absolutely. So, when you think about, all podcasts want growth. Like, we all want to get new listeners, we all want to reach new audiences. And you do have a pretty defined niche, although you do have different topics. Like, I'll be on your podcast and, like,
I'm so
you know,
excited.
I know we're going to talk about podcasting, we're going to talk about like all of it. But even though you do interview some broader people on your podcast, how do you market to reach the right audience, especially with it being like your personal stories? Like, I know for me, and the reason I wanted to have you on is because like if I was sharing I had one podcast that I was a guest on and they asked me about like a breakup I was going through and I was like stunned. And I was like, "Oh my God." So I'm just not like that, you know? It's hard
Right.
to put it that. And so I didn't want to market that episode truly. Now I think I'm a little more comfortable and I could be asked like more vulnerable questions, but like tell us about that was a long question, but the marketing side of like your own life and the podcast.
Honestly, I built a very big chunk, especially in the first like year, off of TikTok.
Hmm.
I was streaming, I was talking about it. I was going on every single Wednesday because that's when the episodes drop. I was going on Thursdays. I was hustling. I was on TikTok. I was, posting clips. I was, because I didn't think Instagram was that big of a tool at the time because it wasn't. I think the last maybe 6 to 12 months is where podcasts have really taken off on Instagram
Yeah.
and also on YouTube. But for a good chunk, if you were an indie, like very small podcast, you went on TikTok to talk about it. And that's how I've gotten not only my sponsor, but some of my closest friends, some of my followers that had been on my podcast that were like, I don't know if I'm like big enough to be on. And I'm like, get your ass on. Here's the prep call. Let's go. So when it comes to marketing, you just have to literally do it everywhere, even on your Facebook where your family can see it. And they're cringing just as much as you are because they're like, oh my God, she's actually talking about that. But just I started this podcast with I think 1,100 followers on TikTok, just enough to go live. And then
Yeah.
I started streaming and then I started talking about the podcast and I didn't shut up about the podcast. And that's really what you need to do to market. Make your reels on Instagram, take those clips. Like I saw somebody that posts like 4 or 5 times a week, different clips. And I'm over
Yeah.
here like, okay, note to self, gonna be doing that now. And you have to be willing to see what other people are doing and not compare, but take notes. Like,
Yeah.
what are they doing that can help me better market? You know, get your template on Canva, like 1 to 2 templates that you can cry over the entire time because I sure as hell did. I hate Canva so much. And you make your template and then you just swap it out.
Yeah.
You take your and batch your graphics. Don't and That way you're going to be more consistent on getting them out. Schedule your stuff. That's going to help you be more consistent on marketing. I'm finally taking my own advice on all of that. But, because I've been doing this for 2 years and I'm like, you know what? That's the thing that I'm missing. You batch and schedule
Yeah.
because you're not going to have the same amount of energy week to week. I sure as hell don't. I never will.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get off this pod and finish up the massive procrastination that I did for this week's episode and start getting that out. You
Yeah.
know, but if you have time after your recording, throw your clips together. If you're using Riverside, get them exported. Get as much exported, especially if you have to do minimal editing, day of. Because
Yeah.
that is going to seriously help. Otherwise, you're going to be me at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday when it's supposed to be out in a few hours, and you're going to be wondering why the hell you don't do these things. But yeah, when it
Yeah.
comes to marketing, Instagram Reels and TikTok, you have
Mm-hmm.
no idea the amount of people that you will reach on TikTok just by posting your clips, just
Totally.
by going live and streaming and talking to people and building that community. And I know TikTok live is a lot of like battling and stuff, but let me tell you, I have built a hell of a community just sitting there talking to people.
Yeah.
And it's so scary at first. You're just
Yeah,
sitting
for
there and
sure.
you've got like two people in your room and you don't know them and you just keep yapping, but you just got to keep doing it because then
Yeah.
you have people that come in and they're like, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. Where have you been? Like, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. You get to that point. So, but post your stuff on TikTok, man. I like threads. Threads is another huge one.
Yeah, that's where we met.
Yeah, post your casting calls on threads. Make a simple little like casting call of what you're looking for, a photo, like do a photo of you and a little like blurb on, what you're looking for and post it and pin it.
Yep.
And then gently bully your friends into resharing it.
Gently
Because you
bully.
can't you can't reshare it for some reason. I mean, you can like quote it, but then it just helps if other people because it gets it out.
Yeah.
So have your people that are just gonna like post it out whenever.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
just find your community that way. But yeah, that's kind of my really long-winded way of how to market because that's just I've built this from the ground up and that's what I've learned over the last 2 years
Yeah. Yeah.
is TikTok's a huge tool, Threads is a gigantic tool, and Instagram is very quickly becoming a big tool as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. That's really great advice. When you just said that you were seeing like other people post, 4 to 5 clips on their TikToks. So when you were doing like market research or when you're seeing other people post to promote their podcasts, do you look in your same industry or are you open to different industries as well?
If it catches my eye and I know that I can tweak it, it's immediately getting screenshot.
Yeah.
I don't literally copy and paste it, but I very heavily inspirationally rely on it. And I'll
Yeah.
flat out tell someone, I'm like, hey, I will flat out be like, hey, I love this. Like, if you see it looking very familiar to yours, it's because I'm very much taking, so like, I'm giving you the credit right now that this is a huge, like, thing for me that I feel like I
Yeah.
want to do. And most people in any industry, whether it's the music industry, the arts industry, the podcasting industry, they all know that they're not exactly holding on to something super unique. And they just appreciate, they're like, hell yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
No, that is really true. And if they do care, it's like it's difficult. I know some people feel like they're always being copied, but I honestly think it's you should just be flattered and take it as a
Yeah.
win.
I only really like have an issue with people not copying my stuff because copy away. Like, but when I see somebody very much like ripping off a
Yeah.
specific person and then they're
Right.
like, no, I came up with this all on my own. And I'm like,
Be honest about it, right? That's all it
yeah, be
takes.
honest.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I literally my new personal Instagram handle, Chaos of Heather Nicole, is a direct like rip off of Life of Emma Page, who's one of my favorite podcasters, because I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know what to say. I don't want to say Life of Heather Nicole because that's too creepy, but I'm chaotic and it works and it works. And I'm just like, girl, you literally, thank you for that. Like, will I change it eventually? Probably. But
Yeah.
for now, I was like, that works,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And she's also just such a sweet human being from all my interactions with her. So but it's stuff like that. Like nothing you do. Like I thought Hot Mess Espresso wasn't original. It was not. Apparently, it's a bikini barista like coffee bar
Okay.
like out in the Pacific Northwest or something. And I'm
Oh
like, it's
yeah,
not a little cold for
we have
that.
a ton of bikini baristas over here for
Yeah, and
sure.
so I'm pretty sure it's like it's one of those. So I was like, son of a bitch. But also I was like, good job.
Yeah.
Like, like it's not something, and I don't know how long they've been in business. I don't know anything like that. I just happened to search it one day to find my searchability, and that's what popped up, and I went, oh, that's cool. Isn't it a little cold up there to be in a bikini?
Oh,
Like,
for sure. I've actually never, like, I drive past bikini baristas all the time, but I've actually never gone. I feel like I'm not the target audience for it.
if it's good coffee, it's good coffee, whether
No,
I'm the
that's
target
true.
audience or not.
That's very true. That's very true. No, okay, that makes a lot of sense of just like, taking what you see as inspiration. I think that's
Hmm.
what a lot, and be honest about it. Like, let them know, say
Yeah.
thanks. I think, yeah, like you said, nothing is really like original now. Everything is, there is some original stuff, but it's a lot of being inspired by other people. And I think in
Yep.
the podcast space specifically, that is what we aim to do. We do aim to inspire others. So we can't get
Hmm.
our feelings hurt when people are inspired by us and
Yeah.
then they
I
do something.
I've literally had people flat out be like, "Oh my God, you're the simplest episode takeaway." They're like, "I never thought of putting like a photo on there for that." And I was like, "Do it.
Yeah.
Switch it out. Find a filter that you like, switch it out. Copy and paste the episode takeaways that you get off of like your AI generated stuff. Tweak it. Don't make it look like you straight up chat GPT that stuff. You use it as a foundation, not your actual script."
Yeah.
But I'm just like, use it. Oh, also, this is like what I use. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll
Yeah.
show you all the things. It, that's what I would want somebody to do for me if I was like, oh, hey, I love that. Can you give me like a quick tip on that? Like, you know, because it's hard out here, especially for
Yeah.
it is so hard out here with podcasting. Like, there's
Yeah.
so many. The bigger you get, the more work it is. And I think people
Yeah.
think that you get it more streamlined, and you do, but you also are like, okay, well, that's streamlined, so now I can focus on doing this now, and then this, and then this, and it
Yeah.
never ends.
Yeah. And you mentioned a sponsor. When did you get your first sponsor?
How long have we been doing this? A couple of months. So I'm sponsored by 502 Media, who it's run by Badge 502. He's also known as the EMT guy. He's big on a lot of social media. Came into my TikTok live on my birthday live, found out that I had a podcast and I was really into mental health. Like, we had a quick chit chat. He actually came on the podcast and we became very fast friends. He's an absolute darling human being. I absolutely adore him. And he was just like, I really believe in what you're doing. Like, let's do this. And I was like, what? But, it's been absolutely just fantastic. And, it just kind of fell into my lap. Usually, when you're podcasting for a couple of years, you're not going to necessarily get a sponsorship. You may get a brand deal. And let me tell you, pound the pavement for those. Get the damn brand deals. Like, be annoying with the ads. Trust me, unless you have something outside of podcasting, like, your editing business or like a coaching business or something, you're going to wind up going the influencer route. So quit
Hmm.
fighting it, just lean into it and hope that all of your brands you truly believe in. Because,
Yeah.
eventually you're going to have to sell out. And that's also the not so fun part that I'm not looking forward to.
Yeah,
So,
no, that is because since I do work with businesses, I always encourage them to sell their services or products or
hmm
whatever through their podcast. But that's a good point. If you don't have anything to sell, you
hmm
will, you do want to make money from your show. And so
yeah.
sponsorships, influencer marketing has totally changed the game. I know a lot of businesses that have fully transferred over to like influencer marketing as their main push to sell their
Yeah.
products. So podcasting is a great way for them to make money and get the name out of their business. So yeah, be
Yeah.
open to it. I love that advice.
Yeah, I unfortunately cannot sell my chaos in a jar, so I have to go. I have to go. I mean, my friends get free chaos in a jar because they're friends with me.
Yeah.
So it's like it's my little freebie. But since the big thing is always have a freebie.
Yeah.
So there's my freebie, be friends with me and your life will never be boring. But you have to go the influencer route. And it
Yeah.
sucks because social media is a full-time gig. So, and I love the brand that I'm working with. I actually do really believe in what they stand for, and it's like a holistic, like little elixir that you take in the morning. I absolutely love it. But, then I have my ambassadorship with Woof, which you don't really make money off these brand deals at first. A lot of the times it's
Yeah.
literally for the exposure, but you have it for your resume, and
Yeah.
make a brand. That's the other thing, make a brand deal resume. That's a big one. Like, have a list of brands that you've worked with, like how long you've worked with them, stuff like that. Because when you're trying to pitch yourself to other brands, they need to see that you've worked with XYZ. Even if it's an ambassadorship, sign up for the affiliate program, sign up for the ambassadorships. That's still something.
Totally.
Especially because I have an ambassadorship with Woof, which is like, the viral like popsicle thing. Let me
Mm.
tell you, I fully believe in that product. I will yap about that product until the day I no longer exist on this earth. But, it's something. And
Yeah.
you just have to get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Apply for all the affiliate programs of like brands that you like, stuff like that. Be annoying. Everyone's going to talk shit. Who cares? Just do it anyways because they're not exactly doing anything to better themselves, the ones that are talking shit. Nobody who is more successful than you is talking shit about you. End of
Exactly.
story.
End of story. So
Like,
good.
so you just do it. Who cares? Who cares what they say? Because they're
Yeah.
going to be the ones that want to be your best friend when you make it big.
Yes.
So that's another list to make. The ones that were dogging on you the entire time and then all of a sudden want to be your buddy. Don't trust those
Yeah.
people.
Exactly. What do you see for Hot Mess Espresso? Like, what is your big goal with it?
Obviously, I'd love to make it like a full-time gig, but
Yeah.
I just want to change the mental health game. I think that we're finally moving in that direction, but I want to speak on panels. I want to be in colleges and talking to younger adults on mental health because I would have loved that when I was, 18 to 22-ish,
Yeah.
And I just really want to expand outside of HME and just really dive into, NAMI and MHA and all of those organizations and really become a part of that and just really use my loudmouth self to start doing what I can to change people's mindsets on mental health. I know I'm capable of it because I'm changing how my family views mental health, which
Mm.
is, you know, old school. We
Yeah.
don't talk about it. Like, we keep things in house, and even they're starting to see mental health in a new light. And I'm like, well, if I can do that, I can do literally anything.
Yeah.
Like fly
Yeah.
me to the moon at this point because so that's kind of the game plan over the next like couple of years, and then just continuing to grow my community, to continuing to try and be it's so cliche, but a safe space, like a place for people to be able to shut their brains off and not have to worry about everything that's going on because they're in my TikTok lives and you know they're okay for that couple of minutes. Even if they're actually not okay,
Hmm.
it's okay in there.
Yeah.
And, they know that even if I don't have the bandwidth to be there for them, they're people that they know in my chat are like there for them and supporting. And that's been like my biggest accomplishment is if somebody's like, I'm not doing great. If I'm, doing 18 things at once, my chat is immediately like, oh my God, what's been going on? Like, or if they know, it's just this community that I'm so proud of it and I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for it. So we're just plugging forward with the whole community thing and seeing where it goes.
Great. I love it. I mean, you're doing such great stuff already, and to the point of changing your family's opinion, yeah, sometimes the people
That was,
closest to you are like the
yeah.
hardest.
I was like, what?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thanks so much for sharing all of this so far.
Yeah,
I have a few questions left that I ask all of my podcast
I
guests, so
love
I'm
it.
excited to see your answers on these. My first one is, what's your favorite podcast listening platform?
Spotify tends to be my default. I don't know why. I don't know why I don't like Apple Podcasts, but I don't.
Yeah. And
Maybe,
most of the people I ask like have that answer too. They're like, something is
honestly,
just
I think it's because as a podcaster, I don't find Apple for creators user friendly at all.
I
So it's
agree.
just kind of like tainted my view on Apple Podcasts as a whole. So I'm a Spotify girly.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Apple
Me
for
too.
music, Spotify for
Oh,
podcasts.
that's funny.
Don't ask me how that works.
Okay. Do you have any podcast listening pet peeves?
When it's like really choppy.
Yeah.
And that's a pet peeve on my own because obviously I use AI to like clean mine up as much as I can because editing makes me cry. But I can't stand when it starts getting really choppy, so I have to like go
Mm,
in and like take that silence like and put it back in and stuff. But yeah, when it's like really really choppy or it's like a touch too chaotic. That's my thing. Like I'm big on minimal editing and I deal with the chaos and stuff like that. But then I look back on my other episodes where like my dog's barking and I'm just like, why? Like thankfully she's an absolute angel and like under my desk right now.
yeah.
But it's just like there's some chaos, but then as somebody who's been there, like when there's too much chaos and people are like, oh,
Yeah.
we just put it in because it's like it's raw and it's unfiltered. And I'm like, well, filter some.
I
Like
agree
it's
with
supposed to
that.
be unfiltered on like your opinions or like what's going on
Yeah.
around you. Like I had a thing where my cat was bapping at the sign, but that's funny chaos.
Yeah.
That's not my cat literally like just knocking shit off my desk and this, that, and the third. Like
Right. And
it's
then you have
you
to like
have
get
to be
up and
selective.
leave. Yeah,
Yeah. You have
exactly.
to be selective. So I think just like literally not editing a single thing. Like I'm getting better at the editing end of it, but there's some stuff I'll still leave. Like if I stumble over my words, who cares? Um, if like my dog comes in and wants to be pet, I'll leave that in.
Yeah.
If she's barking, I'm twitching. So, that kind of thing. So I think that's my pet peeve.
Yeah. I think that's, yeah, me too. Me too. I agree with you on that. Other than your own podcast, what podcast do you listen to and recommend?
Okay, so I have the Holy Trinity, the Father, the
Okay.
Son, and the Holy Spirit of uh Sabrina Zohar.
Okay.
She is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
I went through a really rough breakup, so I've just like basically been listening to these three for like filling my self-worth. Emma from Emma's Too Much, and then Leo Skeppy. That is my holy triad of the
Yeah.
only podcast I will like truly, truly listen to
Yeah.
because as a podcaster, I don't really listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't. I don't
that's
I don't have the
valid.
bandwidth. But yeah, those are my the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Okay. What piece of advice would you like to leave podcasters with?
Just start it. Just do it. Like I literally or we got on, I could not get my big fancy, well not so fancy, but my Logitech Brio to work. So I'm literally on my iPhone with my AirPods.
Yeah.
And I've had to do that on my own show a couple of times. You
Mm-hmm.
just do it,
Yeah.
you know, and do the video. Do the video. Video is really skyrocketing a lot. I know a lot of people like audio, but there are audio platforms. But do the damn video and put it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess two pieces of advice.
No, I agree. And I love that your friend was the one who kept bullying you into starting. So
Damn it,
go him.
Justin.
Go,
I
Justin.
know it is Justin's idea and my ex-husband basically financially fronted all of HME, so I owe everything to those two.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I'm glad that you got started. My last
Me
question
too.
for you is what is the most surprising thing that podcasting has taught you about yourself?
Ooh, that's a good one. That I am capable.
Hmm.
I came into podcasting with a lot of self-doubt, a lot of this is just going to be this little itty bitty thing, and don't expect big things to happen for the first 5 years. And we are almost 2 years and 1 month in, and I have had four huge platform dream guests on already, and I've got another three that we're just dealing with some scheduling issues and some conflicts with schedules and touring and all of that, but they've all verbally committed. So the biggest surprise is that I am fully capable of this and I can do this and I have the drive and I'm doing the thing.
I love it. I love it. Heather, thank you so much for joining me today. I'll
Thank
put the
you.
link to your podcast in the show notes and your Instagram as well. Is there anywhere else people should connect with you? TikTok?
My TikTok, it's the same handle as my Instagram. It's hotmess.espresso. It's a little mix of just my comedy, my humor, and the pod. And then also that's kind of like my more creative outlet. And then my YouTube, which is youtube.com/hotmessespresso. So yeah,
Perfect. I will put those in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining me
thank
today.
you.
Thank you so much for joining me in the Podcast Cafe. I hope you're leaving with fresh ideas and inspiration to take your podcast to the next level. Remember, podcasting is a journey and you don't have to do it alone. I'm here to help you every step of the way. Let's connect. Be sure you follow me on Instagram at Espresso Podcast Production or visit espressopodcastproduction.com for more tips, resources, and behind the scenes insights. I'd love to hear about your podcasting journey. If you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling extra generous, I'd love it if you could leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps more podcasters just like you find the show. Until next time, grab your coffee, keep creating, and I'll see you back here in the Podcast Cafe.